Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next couple of hours, along with Nick right here in the studio.
I'm
with me.
actually at my green screen. I
You're
got a green screen at home, and I'm sitting there.
That's
Copied your background.
Can you people touch each other through the green screen?
No.
Try and see if it works. See if it'll work. This is the advanced model.
the background is real. Nick is green screen, virtual.
Yeah. Yes. The new AI newscaster. vMix has got that feature built in. The cross green screening and built into vMix 18.
And Mike is here too.
How do you know that?
Virtually. And Gal is here.
Good morning.
Good morning. Our number 919-518-9773, Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And this morning's show is made possible by vMix Software, Telestream's Wirecast software, and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. Yeah, it's nice to have Nick in the studio here.
Thanks for having me.
No problem?
No problem.
Big problem.
Okay. What's our big problem?
It's just the problem.
Yeah, the studio typically isn't set up to do shows, so it's a real inconvenience.
Hey, Mike, we're not too loud, are we?
I don't know. It's interesting you should ask because I've been working on my sound levels and I don't know what normal is yet.
Oh, okay. I'm sure he'll keep us straight.
Why are you working on your sound, Mike? Are you working on a new project?
That's top secret.
It's not top secret. You talked about it last week.
It's top secret.
Okay.
It's not going to work anyway. I live in the noisiest neighborhood in Cary. Every morning I hear leaf blowers for 2 and 3 hours. They can be a block away, and these people running these things have to be deaf. Huh? I think we're going to start running ours at 9:00 at night.
Why don't you could pay somebody to just come over and use your leaf blower for a couple hours every night?
Well, we do, but he doesn't like to work at 9, but we'll just have to work it out.
I mean, there you go.
You know, you normally when this happens is because, I take the exhaust, the muffler off of it so it'll run better, have more power.
Yeah, well, there are ways to deal with things like that.
You just need to put earplugs, and believe me, I would rather hear a leaf blower blowing than hear in the morning, Saturday morning, what I hear from about 8 until 11, which is where there are people across Jones Franklin demonstrating and using a bullhorn, and you just hear it kind of like when it hits certain frequencies, and it just kind of drives you nuts. And I went again yesterday, and I told him, I said, look, if you don't lower it, then I'm going to call the authorities. You're not supposed to use it that high. And we went through that before, and I know they're not supposed to. I think they're supposed to go up to 50 dB.
What measured at what distance?
Well, apparently they're not supposed to go over 50 dB, no matter which house residential is hearing them.
50 dB doesn't mean anything. If you listen to a sound that is 50 dB at 10 feet,
Yeah.
at 20 feet, it's going to be 30 dB.
No, I understand. What I'm saying is if you are 10 feet from them, your house is 10 feet, you're not supposed, they're not supposed to be over 50. If you are anywhere that they are, if they go over 50, that you can hear them in your residence over 50, that's a violation.
Is that city of Raleigh?
Yeah.
Yes, it'd be interesting to see because 50 is very, very low.
But it's good enough to talk to people who are sitting in
Not
the
sure.
lawn with you about 30, 40 feet, and it's pointed at them. They have it pointed at the street.
Yeah, just 50 is very low.
Well,
I
think
would be
that's
surprised if it's that low. It can be much higher than that without disturbing the neighbors.
so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not 50.
Is it an input or an output?
It's an output.
Okay.
The
Is it a
input,
spigot or a
I
drain?
would like to punch.
Is it a spigot or a drain?
What are they protesting?
It's all this
Abortion clinic.
abortion clinic
Oh.
and all. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. They have the right to do it. It's. I have no problem with that. But hey, keep it down.
Yeah, there you
It's not the whole world that needs to hear you. It's the people that you are trying to address.
Who probably aren't there on Saturday morning anyway.
But that's the only day. Actually, that's the one day that they really.
Oh.
And you should have seen. You know how you come down the street?
Mhm.
That street was full of cars on both sides.
Really? Wow. It's like they're doing a parade.
Anyway,
Arnie's
right.
asking where Spence is. He's out of town,
Spence
right?
is out of town. He went to visit his uncle in Florida for a week. He hasn't been there in a long time, and I mean, people in the family are getting older and older, and he's trying to do whatever he can to
Well,
keep
but
good
going
memory.
to see them is not going to stop that.
No, it's not.
Okay.
You're absolutely right. It's not.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
So, anything anybody wants to bring up before I go to some of our stories? No?
Well, yes.
Oh,
Yes, actually. I probably ought to say this later in the show, but you know what? If they didn't get here in time, they'll miss it. It was last week or week before. Nick was talking about this backup imaging utility. What's called? What's the name of it again?
Is it
here it is.
Aomei?
Aomei.
Yep.
It is AOMEI Tech. I'll put this in the chat. AOMETech.com. They have two different programs. One is called Aomei Partition. What the heck is it? Let's get back to the main pages. Anyway, they've got partition software as well as just backup software. One's called Aomei Backup, or the other is called Aomei Partition Assistant. The Partition Assistant is the one that I downloaded. Now it's free for personal use. What happened was, I help a local organization here that's anti-abortion, by the way. I help a local organization.
keep
They
it down
built
to
a
50
studio.
dB.
What's echoing?
Go on.
No, what's echoing?
Uh-oh. I don't know.
All right.
That's
So anyway,
funny.
I built them a studio a couple of years ago. They hired a new guy to run the studio. He apparently didn't know much about it. Nick and I went over there, a month ago, Nick?
Yeah, sounds about right.
We went over there about a month ago. When we went in there, I was aghast at what I saw. All of this equipment, and they've got first-class equipment, really good stuff, just in shambles. The equipment itself was good, but the wiring was thrown over in a corner. It was not even rolled up. It was not in a box. It's just terrible. So I asked them, since they're sort of under new management, I said, do you want me to rebuild this studio? Well, you'll need to talk to so-and-so. Oh, okay. So anyway, I finally talked to so-and-so, and she was thrilled with the opportunity and her partner in crime over there. So I'm going to rebuild the studio. But what happened was, what was interesting is when we were there, the typical setup that I use for a studio is to have an i7 desktop computer with a Delta 1010 LT sound card in it, which gives us plenty of inputs and outputs without having to use a bunch of USB cards, things like that. Well, I went over there and saw the computer sitting in the corner. It was had cables and everything thrown on top of it. I couldn't understand why they weren't using it, except that a couple of people who had been in there before, for some reason, really wanted to use their personal computers for things like research and Jingle Palette and what have you. They just never got into using the desktop computer, which Nick will tell you makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, it's the operation center. It's kind of like getting in a car and not wanting to use the steering wheel. So I grabbed the computer, and the hard drive was sitting on top of it. Okay, so while I was there, I grabbed it and I said, I'm going to work on it, see what's going on. We put the hard drive in it. It would not boot. It just sat there. I got it home, and it sat here for a while. Well, over 3 or 4 days ago, I decided to dig into it. Well, it wouldn't boot. I mean, it just did nothing. And I'm trying to remember what I did. I don't remember what I did.
Comes with the age. It's okay.
No, it was one of these deals where I spent 3 days on it. And so there's so many things that I did. Anyway, somehow I got it to boot. When I got it to boot, I said, well, this is not so bad. And it only had a 1 terabyte hard drive in it, and it had over 500 gigabytes worth of stuff in it. Well, after a while, it got really, really slow. The disk, it had not been updated in 2 years. It was trying to do Windows 10 updates and all this nonsense. So eventually it had to run overnight before finally the hard drive went down to zero, the utility. Then I realized that apparently the hard drive is bad. It complained about a few bad sectors, but I didn't want to do a scan on it because it would take a week. What I did was I decided to do an image of the hard drive. Well, the image software that I normally use is Image for Linux, which is a bootable CD. I boot into it and then copy it over to a USB drive. Well, of course, so I didn't pay much attention, and I'll get to that in a second, but I tried to do it, and Image for Linux wouldn't run. It kept saying, cannot read it would run about 8% and say, cannot read hard drive. And what I did was I realized then that I also didn't have enough room on the USB drive, which was fine. So what I decided to do, I booted back into Windows, put in a USB drive. I started copying all their sound files on there because of 600, 500, 600 gigabyte, probably 90% of it was WAV and MP3 sound files. Over the next day, even though it was very slow, I was able to I was able to offload those files onto a USB drive and actually got the partition size down to less than 100 gigabytes. Well, then I decided, all right, now's the time I'll make an image, because I mean, all this time it's going to take to make an image and compress it and transfer it and all that. So I knew it'd take forever. I then tried Image for Linux again, same thing. It still would not get past about the 8% mark. Well, then remembering what Nick had told me, I loaded Aomei onto the computer and told it to make a partition image of the main partition. Now, it's a Windows program. It does not require a bootable CD. If you can get into Windows, you can use it. And believe it or not, it made a full partition of the C drive over to a USB drive. I then got I had another new 1 terabyte drive, put it in there, and imaged that drive using Aomei, booted, perfect. Everything worked fine. Got it all, got everything, all the Windows updates done, which were pretty extensive, finished cleaning it up, finished getting all the junk off of it, got it down to 50 gigabytes in the partition. Then I made another image of it, this time with Image for Linux, because I want to keep that consistent over time, and everything worked just fine. The problem is it was still slow. It's a mechanical drive, spinning drive, and I just can't tolerate those anymore for an operating system. It's just too much of a difference. Went on Amazon and ordered a solid state drive, same day delivery. It came in. Because the the original source drive was 1 terabyte and the destination drive was 500 gigabytes, I once again used Aomei to image from the 1 terabyte spinning drive to the 500 gigabyte SSD drive. Went in there, told it what to do, so hit apply, it did it, rebooted, with the new drive in there, booted perfectly. It's working fine, ever since. And all that is to say that Aomei is more fault tolerant than Image for Linux, which is my go-to program, meaning that if you need an imaging program, you need to try this one. I'm probably going to buy it, even though so far the free one does everything that I want it to do. And so anyway, Tim is suggesting that I instead of get a Mac, get an iPad. I was going to get an iPad, but I can't figure out where to plug in that Delta 1010 LT sound card. If you've got a solution for that, Tim, let me know. That would be convenient. And that's my story.
I was right.
Finally.
No, but in all seriousness, did you have any problems with the software? It's super. I mean, it's super
Yes.
explanatory. So what
Yes.
was your problem with it?
I didn't read one of the help screens the first time I did the image,
Mhm.
and it didn't work. I went back and I was thinking, oh crap, this is the first thing I found. It's not going to work. And this is when I was doing the image from the spinning drive to the SSD.
Yep.
I said, wait a minute, maybe I did something wrong here. So I went through it again. This time I read every one of them, and it said, after you click OK here on the main screen, click apply.
Yes. Yeah, I
Which
had
is
that same
stupid.
problem.
That's stupid.
That is stupid.
Well, yeah. So when you set up the partition or you set up what your changes, you click OK, then you have to click apply in the main program to verify that that's
and
what
then
you
it was
want to do.
flawless.
Yeah. It's impressive software. It's nice not to have to make bootable media. And it's free.
And what it does, the
Dave-
reason you don't have to do bootable media is it does reboot into it does actually make the image outside of Windows.
Yeah.
But it uses the software that it loads onto your hard drive to do the boot.
if I'm not mistaken, all of them do that. You go through it and then they say, okay, you ready for it? It's even possible to do a backup.
Your audio just crackled and died. Sounds like a loose connection.
Really?
Well, it's back now.
Interesting. No, I was saying that I don't know that you can even make a backup from within Windows
You can.
to clone.
You can.
Which program will do that?
Quite a few of them do it. I'm pretty sure Acronis will do it.
No, Acronis always. That's what I use. It always reboots.
Well, I'm just
No,
telling
it
you
has
that.
to. Yeah.
No, you start it from within.
I got it.
Yeah.
I am telling you that there are programs that will do a backup,
Okay.
an image from within Windows.
Okay.
I would never do that.
Yeah, but I need to try that. And Dave from Dave Computer Tips
Mm-hmm.
always recommended Aomei.
That's where I found it when I
Yeah.
was originally searching for what I I needed to move up to a new a larger SSD. I went from a 240 to a 480 or 460, whatever size, and needed something to do it easily. And it expanded the partition. It did everything. I'm really impressed by it. And I think if you buy it, it's not more than $40 or $50.
Yeah, I know.
If
It's
you need the, well, how much was it?
This thing's $50.
Okay, $50. If you need the pro version, it's not outrageous.
So Tim and I are talking about how to use an iPad instead of a desktop computer. And he says, I asked him about the 1010 LT. He says to stick it in the USB-C port. I've tried it and it won't fit. It's way too big for the C. I mean, this card is full, this big, and it just won't go into the C port. The C. So,
Have you tried the CD drive?
on an iPad?
Yeah. Mine's got a spinning drive. Great.
What is it, version 1?
Even God laughed.
You're talking about the coffee holder?
Oh,
Coffee
I'm
holder?
sorry. Yeah, I guess that's what it's called.
And also, Paul, thanks for posting that link. I forgot to do it. And Alan is saying, I'm thinking of turning an Acer notebook into a Hackintosh. Not sure how that would turn out. Anyone already do this? Why would you do that? Why not just put Linux on it? Because all the software is Unix
I actually
or
did that years ago.
cartoon interface.
I did that years ago. I don't remember what I did it for.
Did you do it for Andrew? I remember Andrew was
Andrew actually
big
had it.
into it.
Andrew had it running well. I did it for, I don't remember what programmer I was trying to use, and it worked out all right. If it's an older computer, you probably won't have the best experience, but it's worth the try.
Yeah.
It's got to be an Intel though. Can't do it with an AMD.
919-518-9773, Computers 2K voice on Skype.
Your audio and video are out of sync in the Hangout.
That's a Hangout issue. I was reading about that this week.
It is? I mean,
I've had this problem and I was looking into it and I found a whole bunch of Google help forms from like 2010 about sync issues. I don't know what they've done to readjust to screw that back up.
well, let's see. When
It's okay now.
Do it again. You weren't full screen when you did it.
you want me on full screen?
Clap again. No, just clap again. Yeah, you're off by at least 500 milliseconds.
Yeah, I see that.
Oh well.
Hey, you get what you pay for.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and money back guarantee too.
So it's now turning into Black Friday season.
Racist.
So if you see anything out there that appeals, what's the email address that people can email to and it goes to all of us?
Hosts at computers2know.com.
Yeah, so hosts at computers2know.com if you want to if you find a deal or see something that's good out there and you want to get in touch with us outside of the show, between this show and next show,
Okay.
let us know. Because it seems like Black Friday and Christmas now are all kind of together. Seriously, once Black Friday hits, it's all the same.
No. Black Friday starts January 1st.
Last week, yeah.
And goes through September 30th.
But in all seriousness, because of the robust economy that we're experiencing, if you have things in mind for Christmas presents, you'd better go ahead and order them because they very well could be in short supply, whatever it is.
I was looking through I was looking through Best Buy's ad and Walmart's ad. Seems to be the typical stuff. TVs. Walmart's got all their name brand like Element and TLC TVs on sale for a pretty good price. Somebody's got a good deal on an iPhone. I don't remember who. You get like a $300 gift card. I think it's Walmart. $300 gift card if you buy an iPhone or something like that. So there's
How does that work? Do you buy it outright or do you have to buy it with a plan?
No, you have to buy it with the plan, which sucks. But a lot of people do that. A lot of people do that anyway. So if you're going to be doing that, that's a way to do it. Because I tried doing that when I bought my phone, and none of the promotions are valid if you are buying outright.
As long as you can get it.
I'm going to look for something I saw before while we're doing this, and there's a new, to me, I've never heard of it, new brand of cell phone. I don't understand these new companies getting into the cell phone business. Why would you do that?
Why not? If people are buying.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at something yesterday. Can you imagine the complexity of physically building a portable phone, a smartphone?
Well,
if you've never built an electronic circuit before, you don't have the same appreciation for it. But my gosh, is it complex?
Sorry. Now listen to this story here, which is very interesting. A lot of people don't use computers. most of them aren't in charge of a nation's cybersecurity, but one is. Yoshitaka Sakurada, 68, the minister who heads Japan's government cybersecurity office, said during questioning in parliament that he had no need for the devices and appeared confused when asked basic technology questions. I have been independently running my own business since I was 25 years old, he said. When computer use is necessary, I order my employees or secretaries to do it. I don't type on a computer. So he was asked by a lawmaker if nuclear power plants allowed the use of the USB drives, a common technology widely considered to be security risk. He said he did not seem to understand what they were. I don't know details well. So, how about having an expert answer your question if necessary? How's that? The comments were immediately criticized. I can't believe that a person who never used a computer is in charge of cybersecurity measures.
I have to agree with that.
I mean, and in Japan, I mean, you know what? You have a shortage of techie people. Give me a break.
Well, the thing that bothers me about some of these guys is they seem to wear their ignorance as a badge of honor.
I remember the same thing was same kind of like same tone and wording were like about 12 years ago were spoken in Durham at the place that recycles computers.
Cramden.
It was, I don't think it was Cramden, or maybe it's when they opened Cramden, but it was an opening of something. And our esteemed Congressman Price was there. And that's exactly what he said, that he doesn't use computers. And here he is in a place where they're why did they send him to be the rep of our local government? You know,
He has peasants to do that work for him, Amnon.
yeah, just amazing. I'm a doctor, but I don't use a stethoscope
Scopes.
or a thermometer or a blood pressure.
Antibiotics or
Yeah.
I posted the link to that new cell phone, new to me cell phone. Maybe you guys have heard of these all the time, but it's called Sonim, Sonim. Their model XP7
Hmm.
supposedly has 40 hours of talk time on the charge.
Yeah, but this looks like I mean, I don't know the brand, but when I was in the Navy, there were a lot of phones like these, like robust,
Ruggedized.
durable. And they always are some third-party brand. So I don't think they make the electronics. They buy the electronics in bulk from some manufacturer. So underneath it's some manufacturer, but that is probably well known, or maybe not that well known. Maybe something like well
Huawei.
known.
Probably
Like
Huawei.
maybe I was thinking like Audiovox or something like something that doesn't really exist in the market to buy, and they just ruggedize it.
But it's Android.
Mike, are you on speakers?
Yeah.
I think we're hearing I'm hearing feedback when Gal talks.
Yeah, his not so hot. I turn it down a little bit.
Mike, you're speaking about phones. I watched a video last night. It's about a new phone out called the Alcatel One X. I watched it.
Alcatel is back in.
Yeah, is that
Interesting?
Is that a brand?
They're
Used to be
over
a
here
phone
in Canada.
provider.
Yeah.
Okay, Alkatel.
No,
Alcatel.
that's a
Okay.
different one. They were ALC.
Oh, that's right. They were C A L.
Alcatel.
Yeah.
Alcatel. So they've got this new phone out. It's a $99 smartphone, And you can see these. If you go to Walmart or any of these stores, they sell these $90
Track
smartphones.
phones or whatever.
Track phones, yeah. My grandparents have got those. And they typically run like a 4 or 5 older version of Android. And this one's different. It's $99 and it's the first phone running Google's new Android Go platform, which is a much lighter version of Android. Google has taken a lot of their default apps and they've made Go versions of their apps. So the Gmail to Go, YouTube to Go, all of these different Go features, which helps the phone run a lot smoother when it's in terms of storage space and a whole bunch of other things. So I watched a video on it last night, and I thought it was quite interesting. Now, obviously, it's still a $99 phone, so it's not going to be very speedy. It's not going to be the quickest device in the world, but it's got a fingerprint reader. The screen itself isn't that great. It's got a decent camera, but it looked like an option to have a cheap smartphone that isn't. No, it looks like a cheap smartphone that isn't a security vulnerability, because when you're running these Android versions, you're running. I'm trying to think what's the Marshmallow or whatever. Kit Kat, or probably 5 or 6 versions old now. I mean, those things are security holes, and a lot of those cheap track phones, and even AT&T sells them. They're $79, $99, $129 phones. This looked like an interesting little phone here. The Alcatel 1X.
1X.
Mm-hmm. Fingerprint reader on the back too. Pretty interesting.
And in a completely unconnected item, guess who just followed me on Twitter?
Hold on.
You'll never guess.
Is it a customer support service?
It is not.
Oh, darn.
You may not even remember the name, Nick. It predates you, I believe.
Okay.
I know Amnon will remember Dan McDermott.
Yeah.
He just followed me on Twitter.
That name sounds familiar.
That's interesting how he just happened to find. I wonder, did you tweet anything about the show or anything like that?
Not his show. I tweeted some things about podcasting about 3 weeks ago, and he just read it apparently and saw it. I mean, he and I used to work together with it. In fact, I registered his domain name for him.
Yep,
he didn't know anything about it that years ago. But he's a good guy.
So, Mike, do you have Bitcoin?
No, I have Litecoin.
This article goes that Bitcoin moment of relative stability ended abruptly Wednesday. The world's largest cryptocurrency hit its lowest level of the year, falling as much as 9% to a low 56.40, according to CoinDesk. What?
What do you say to the guy? How much do you cry for the guy who paid 50 cents for them?
Well,
and that 56 is $5,600.
Yep.
Oh
yeah,
no.
5,640, not $56.40.
So I wouldn't cry too many tears. Now, if you paid 20 for it, that's too bad.
Bitcoin had been trading comfortably around the 6,400 range for the majority of the fall, a stark contrast from its volatile trading year. Other cryptocurrencies fared even worse on Wednesday. Ether fell as much as 13%, while XRP, the third largest cryptocurrency by market capitalization, dropped 15%, according to CoinMarketCap.com. So, I mean, yeah, I don't think there were a lot of people that bought it for 50 cents. I think most people bought it for a lot of money because they did in the last few years when it was already over 1,000 and all that. It's enough to scare somebody.
I read Scott?
No, go ahead.
I read something this week. I don't remember where it was. Something about how this is specific to just Bitcoin. This is what I'm talking about, was Bitcoin. Something about how the difficulty of Bitcoin now is at the point where mining it is no longer
No,
worth it.
it's
It-
not.
it's ac- it, but it's mathematically hit the point now where it costs too much to actually mine it.
Yeah,
So
you pay more for the computer
for
and the
power,
electricity.
yeah, it's hit
to do
that
it. Yeah,
threshold now. The
absolutely.
hashes are so complex. So I don't know what that means for the future, Mike. That'd be something interesting for you to talk about. If I find the article, I'll send it to you. But I'd like to hear what the reaction is to something like that. Mike's got a new.
We talked about it in tonight's show. You'll be glad to know.
Well, perfect. Then I look forward to listening to that.
Okay.
Because one of the questions that I asked him is it sounds to me like you get money for free by mining it. And he talks about the amount of money that even the amount of electricity, the speed of the computers, the time that it takes. If you're doing it just for yourself, it's one thing. But if you're going to go out and hire, I think that's what he said. Some of this off the air, but one of the things that he said is that if you're in the business of mining it and you're hiring people to do it, your salaries can eat up what you can make in the mining process.
Yep. It's not what it used to be. What was it, Nick? You in the early days, you mined some.
Yeah, I did.
I mean, this was
I'm
what, 6, 7 years ago?
In high school, I had all the iMacs in a computer lab that I had access to running Bitcoin miners overnight.
How'd that work on an iMac?
It may or may not have ruined a couple of them. They wouldn't boot anymore. I don't know.
You burned them up. Well, they just work. What's wrong with you?
Video card in the iMac is not ideal for mining cryptocurrency, if I had to guess.
So Litecoin is at $41.90, up 1.16%.
There you go.
So, Nick, you're talking about go this and go that.
GoFundMe.
Netflix
Oh, okay.
is testing a cut price mobile only subscription. Price as low as $3 for some, as it explores new packages aimed at widening its appeal in Asia and other emerging markets. That's from TechCrunch. So I never understood people watching a movie on a phone's size screen. It just doesn't seem. I don't know. Yeah, maybe if you stick it in a visor and watch,
Jesus.
you know.
This is how Amnon walks around his house now. Oh wow, this new Superman movie is fantastic.
You know, it's kind of. I don't know. I never did it. Even when I watch somebody's showing me a YouTube video on the phone. Okay, wow. You can't hear it right. You can't see it good. I mean, to watch a whole movie.
Well, I was just gonna say that I've actually been watching more and more YouTube videos on my phone.
Why?
At night? I don't know. It's just easier.
You're talking about laying in bed.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a different story.
It's not a different story because previously what I would do is I'd watch them on my computer and then I'd go to bed. Now I'm finding myself before I'm going to bed, I'll turn off all my stuff and I'll lay on the couch or whatever, sit on the couch and watch YouTube videos on my phone. I don't know what it is. I've never watched content on my phone before.
Well,
I'm Gal, how old are your kids? Or how old is your son?
He's 17.
Does he watch a lot of stuff on his phone?
Primarily.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I'm sure he doesn't probably sit in front of a computer to watch a YouTube video.
Oh, he does that as well, but that's usually only because he just played something on the computer and shifted to it, or it's different. But I watch a lot of content on my phone, I can tell you, and I really like the medium. It is so. I don't know, as you're saying, it's a small screen, right?
Right.
But it's literally less than it's like less than 3 feet away from you, right? It's 1 or 2 feet, depend where it is, whether you're putting it on the table or you're holding it in your hands. At arm's length, literally. So the fact that the screen by measurement is smaller than something that is across the room, that might be true, but if you just put the phone in front of your face. You'll see that it covers most of the screen that you're looking at right now. So
Yeah,
it's
I think the problem that I'm having with it is if you're looking at the monitor,
Yeah.
a big monitor, that the picture is bigger, your eyes will go and find details that you need to see there. On a small screen. You really have to concentrate, and it seems like the intensity of watching, the I don't know, the brain activity for watching and seeing something is a lot higher than if you just sit there and watch a big screen TV, and then you see the details. They just pop at you because there's room for it to happen.
so
I
let's put it this way: most content,
Yeah, doesn't
most
need.
content doesn't mean a lot. So no, I mean, think about it. Think about going to see a movie in the cinema.
Yeah.
There are a few movies that you tag, you gotta see this in the cinema, right? But most of the stuff is, yeah, I'll wait for video, right? When it was video. So I'll wait when it'll be on streaming.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing. There's a lot of content that you want a story, that you want the interaction of the characters, you want to see it, but it's not that important if you see all the details. And there are others, right, where it is more important. There are things that I really like watching on the large screen TV, and there are things that I'm okay watching day to day here.
Well,
That's what I wanted to ask. Are you watching a TV and movie, or are you watching like YouTube? Because
TV and movie.
Interesting. Yeah.
YouTube as well, but TV and movie. I sync stuff here,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then I watch it later.
That's crazy. I've yet to do
when
that.
I'm away from my during a lunch break, right?
Okay.
While I'm eating on my own in the office.
Mhm.
I prop up the phone. I have the headset, and I just watch whatever I want to watch.
How about when you're home? Would you ever find yourself at home? Are you always on a bigger screen if you're watching something at home?
Yeah, but that's mostly because at home I don't watch alone. I watch with my wife. So
That's true. Yeah.
So we sit down.
All right. Well, let me ask you this way: does your TV have a feature in it to cast it over to your phone?
No,
Does your phone have an option to cast
I never do
to the
that. No.
TV? No, but
I
does
mean-
it? Does it?
Oh well, my TVs don't have anything to
Well,
receive the cast,
okay.
right? So
So my point is, I don't know any TVs that you can click a button on it and cast it to your phone, mirror it. I know that there's a lot of phones that can take it and mirror it to the TV. There's a reason for it, because people like to watch it on a bigger screen.
yeah, so I use think about Netflix.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you're watching something on Netflix on the big screen, you stop it,
Mhm.
you pick up your phone, and you're at exactly that same point in the chapter or the movie, right? And you continue from that point. So there's no need for casting. Casting is nice when it works, but it's not ubiquitous. It doesn't really exist. It's still a technological oddity. A lot of movies, sci-fi's, right? They want to show how seamlessly it's going to be in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But in order for that to actually be as seamless as it is shown in the movies, right? There is either everyone is going to use an iPhone and an Apple ecosystem, because the technology will be created by one creator, one technology creator, or it's going to be based on some sort of standard, right? That is adapted by all manufacturers, and we all know how that looks, right? So
Yeah.
for now, we're very far away from the viability of casting making sense. But when it will be, then it'll be both ways, because there's a lot of stuff, a lot of times where you need to take whatever's on the big screen and put it on a small screen and move with it, right? So that's going to happen.
Alan in the chat is saying that something else I saw an ad for was Oculus Go standalone VR headset that supposedly lets you watch movies on it.
Yeah.
That that's I would think that if I'm watching a phone,
Mhm.
I almost have to cross my eyes because it's so small and it's close to you that you want to see it. It's like your eyes would get crossed automatically.
Well, it also
And
has to do with sight, right? I
yeah, oh,
mean,
absolutely.
yeah, my sight
What?
has been starting to fail me. So I can't say that I'll be using this
Method.
exclusively
Yeah.
for long. But then again, when I put my glasses on, it's okay, right? So as for the VR solution, there are some interesting ones. Remember we talked about Plex
Mhm.
as a solution to manage all your media. So they have, for certain phones, not all phones, but for certain phones, they have Plex VR, and Plex VR allows you to put the phone in a VR in the VR prop that you put on your head, and sit down and watch a movie on Plex via VR.
Mhm.
What I find interesting there is when you're watching a movie via VR, the VR is showing a screen that is projected far away from you, so
Right.
it doesn't cover the entire screen, right? So even when you're talking about VR, they prop it maybe as a big screen but far away.
Mhm.
So it's not like you're watching the movie from here
Right.
anyway,
Yeah.
right? You're always watching something further away.
Yeah.
And with the small screen where you're holding it like that, that's probably good enough.
Yeah, like you said, content is not
Not always. Yeah, not always. But even when it is, I mean, just think about the resolution that most of the new phones have, especially if you're buying a flagship,
yeah. Oh.
right? The resolution is fantastic.
Yeah.
So this is a higher resolution device, which is less than 2 feet away from you, right? So it's true that the rectangle, right, is a bit smaller than the screen that's
Well,
on.
it's a lot smaller,
yeah,
but it doesn't seem like it to me.
exactly. When you put it here, right, always look at how much it covers from the screen that you're actually viewing,
Mm-hmm.
right, when you're putting it in front of you.
Yeah.
And so you're watching something that is probably a quarter in the size, not a complete, not something that
Yeah.
is just 5 inches
Take this.
in diameter, right?
So I just handed Amnon my phone, which is a flagship phone. It's the 8 Plus or whatever, and I've got a YouTube
Yeah.
video
Now
pulled up.
that's
Is that? Would you not find that as a comfortable watching
Yeah.
experience? Yeah, it's a video. It'll play
Oh.
through.
Yeah. I mean that's pretty good. I mean you can watch that.
There's a graphic up on the screen that's got probably a
Yeah.
dozen numbers on it, and I mean they're all more than readable.
Not only that is the main problem with a small screen, right, is you want it to be mobile. What makes it more complex is the audio. Yeah, right. But what makes it more complex is the audio. So as long as you have a good headset, you're probably covered.
Now the iPhone has got it's got those faux stereo speakers. It's got a single speaker down here, but when you're watching a video in landscape, it bumps this ear speaker up. So you do get an effect of stereo speakers because normally they have 2 stereo speakers at the bottom, which when you turn
but
from your
then-
phone like this is useless. Like this is useless.
But then you're bothering everyone around you.
Oh, absolutely. And if, I'm sorry, if you're one of those
Yeah.
people that watches content in public on your speakers, you don't deserve the air that you breathe. You are the scum of the earth if you do that. But
Ooh.
yeah, that's why I carry around this dongle all the time so I can listen to my content. because it's courage, to take the headphone jack out of the
That's
phone.
called courteous.
That's
Courtesy.
Nah, it's not courteous. You're the worst. You are the worst kind of people if you do things like that. Actually, Gal, I'm thinking about getting a pair of ear pods for Christmas.
Okay.
I've been very anti-Bluetooth. I don't like the idea of having to have something charged up, but boy, am I fed up with this tangled mess of nonsense every time I need to pull headphones out of my pocket.
I understand you.
So I'm being won over just by the fact.
But by the same token, this nonsense is sort of like a tether that if you drop the ear,
Yeah, absolutely. That's what,
you don't lose it
well,
because it's long.
yeah, but I'll tell you the other problem I've got with this is I'll put my phone in my pocket and I'll have the headphones in and I'll end up getting the headphones caught on a doorknob or anything, and it just rips the headphones out of my ears. So I think I'm gonna go. I've got a pair of cheap little Bluetooth headphones I bought at the office to test out with, and I like just being able to always leave them in my ear or around my neck.
Why not just one?
Well, that's a great thing about the earpods. You can use it like that. I mean, that's the nice thing why I'm looking at the earpods is you can put just one of them in and the other one will sit and charge. So if this one dies, you hop over to the other ear and you're good to go.
Mm.
So that's kind of what
you've seen these.
Yeah, that's what I've got at the office.
Yeah.
So
these work.
How do you get it caught in a
No. I'm saying these.
You're tall.
No, I'm saying I get these caught.
Oh.
Yeah, I open the door with my head. I'm like an animal. I'm a giraffe. I open the door with my head.
I don't know. I got one. It's in there. It's like a big, like a quarter size,
Mhm.
and you stick it in your ear. I used it for a day or so, and it's just sitting there.
I was always very anti-Bluetooth. I hate the idea of charging things. My bedside table at home is just chargers and things plugged in. I mean, the whole table is eaten up with. Now I got this new a U-Dock on there. It's just a mess of chargers, and I got the damn Apple Watch.
Take it away from your head, man.
I got the Apple Watch. I got the phone. I got the iPad. I got the laptop charger. It's all there, but I think I'm gonna get a pair of earpods because I hate carrying around this damn thing all the time. First world problems.
Problems. Okay.
Track deals on Slack deals.
Yeah, I've got a tracker on it.
Yeah, and
they're not actually that expensive. I was looking at them at the Apple Store yesterday. They're $150 new, which you may balk at, but a pair of Bluetooth earphones from Bose or anything like that are easily $150. If they were $300,
that's true. But my problem with them is that they're really small and they're in ear.
Yeah.
So for a long period of time, putting them on, that's tough. What I like about these, it's true, they're bulkier, they're larger, but they're very comfortable. I have them on my head almost the entire day because I work with them, and they're terrific.
I think there is I'm seeing more and more people now out and about when I just go to stores that have got. Can you hold back up that other device you have, the Ring, that have got. Yeah. They've got those laying, just sitting around their neck. I'm seeing more and more of that in public now, and I just think in general people are just kind of fed up with getting this cable caught on everything and yanking your phone or yanking your headphones out.
Yeah, and these are what they're less than $20. So
yeah, so that's what I've got. That's what I've got, and those ones are nice because they have a larger battery because they've got all that room to store to store battery. I've got just a little pair at work that don't quite do as well. So Amnon is handing me now one of these little guys.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who the brand is. It's just got an orange O on it.
It's a no brand. It's a no name.
So yeah, this is kind of it. The only I see the issue with these probably is each of is there two of them or just one?
No, just one.
Just one. It's got to be charged via micro USB.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there are solutions like these with lesser known name brands where you have a case to charge them, and You just need to do, because there's a lot of them, you need to do some research and see that you're not falling on a dud, something that will fail you after a week or two.
Yeah. Well, that's the nice thing about the
So-
AirPods is they do have the case that they come in as a charger. So you
Yeah.
you don't have to scramble for a charger if you
But you still have to plug it into something.
yeah, the case charger, but
Yeah.
the case I believe will do 4 full charges per earbud.
And from what you hear, how long does the charge last?
I don't know. Let's see. I texted
mean,
I was asking
do
my
you
buddy
know that?
yesterday.
Mike?
They give hours of work. I don't remember how many.
I texted one of my friends who I went to PAX with, who I know uses them religiously at work, and he says he gets 5 hours of full audio, not standby, 5 hours of listening to audio per ear before you need to put them in the case, and he guesses he gets 3 to 4 full charges from the case.
Wow. So that's...
Yeah. And that's pretty common. I mean, you look at any of those, even that little thing that you handed me, that's probably only got 5 hours of, or it maybe even be less, 5 to 6 hours of actual listen time. But again, it depends on the volume, depends on what you're listening to. So it varies by device.
This is supposed to also be a headset that you can talk.
Yeah, and then the AirPods,
And the AirPods also?
do the same
Okay.
thing. It's
Interesting. All right, let's go to let's change lanes here.
put your directional on first.
Antivirus has been around for more than 20 years. But do you still need it to protect yourself today? In general, you probably do, but there are caveats. If you're worried about your iPhone, there's actually no real antivirus software for it. And iOS is engineered to make it extremely difficult for hackers to attack users, especially at scale. In the case of Apple's computers, which run macOS, there are fewer antiviruses, but given that the threat of malware on Mac is increasing ever so slightly, it can't hurt to run an AV on it, antivirus. If you have an Android phone, on the other hand, an antivirus does not hurt, especially because there have been several cases of malicious apps available on Google Play Store. So on Android, an antivirus will help you. That's from the editor of Trade Magazine Virus Bulletin.
Yeah, but the Apple, not the Apple, the Play Store,
Yeah,
tracks the applications on your phone, and if there's something malicious, it tells you just uninstall it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. They just work, like Mike says. They just work.
I mean, it did infiltrate, right? But
Yeah.
if it'll infiltrate, it'll only infiltrate if you allowed it to. If you allow third-party installations anyway, so it's not like
So now, when it comes to computers running Windows, this editor thinks you should use an antivirus. What antivirus is especially good at is making decisions for you, arguing that if you open attachments, click on links, and perhaps you are not too technically savvy, it's good to have an antivirus that can prevent the mistakes you may make in those situations. For Simon Edwards, the founder of SE Labs, a company that tests and ranks antivirus software, despite the fact that Windows' own antivirus called Defender is a good alternative, it's still worth getting a third-party one. Even if Defender wasn't the best, and it isn't the best, it is still a lot better than having nothing. Yet, we do see a benefit in having paid for antivirus products. Yeah, some companies do see a benefit in having a paid for because they sell them. Sure. But the point here is that a lot of people, most people that use computers are not technically savvy. They use it, it's a tool, you know. I mean, somebody who uses a hammer knows not to bang it on their finger. It's because it really hurts. The people that know anything about using an antivirus and are getting into it are people that got bitten by one in the past. They turned religious about it. So most people are not technical and they don't know what to look for when it does happen. So that's why it's a good thing to have. And don't think that having an antivirus is 100% protection. It's just like getting a flu shot doesn't mean that you're not going to get the flu. It's a little bit, your chances are a little bit better. But and today, that's why, because there are so many antivirus programs out there and they work good and all that, the word 0-day virus or malware came about because what they do is they put it out there. They know about a vulnerability. They put it out there. They know that they have a very short window of attacking and finding something because the companies will find out about it and build protection against it. So you are in that window that you can get hurt, even if you do have an antivirus. So the best is to get knowledgeable about what to look for when something like this happens. And to know not to go to porn sites, not to go to pirated software sites. There are certain things that you shouldn't do to minimize your chance.
What
But
you
Amnon,
Yes.
the internet is for porn.
Yeah, I know.
what you
Right.
should do though is click those emails when somebody's going to send you all that money. You know,
Absolutely.
those ones are legit.
Yeah.
I'm a very
Yeah.
wealthy man because of those emails.
I got an email this morning that somebody is going to publicize the video that I was watching porn
Oh,
on
excellent.
my computer.
Did you pay their? What, are they still looking for Bitcoin, or
They're
have they moved
looking
on?
for
Yeah,
Still looking for Bitcoin.
Unbelievable.
I don't get it, man. I don't get
people
it,
are
man.
falling for it.
I can't comprehend how people are
I
falling
know.
for it.
Well, I would think that people that do go to porn sites will get real scared because, and in many cases, those emails are actually containing passwords that you used in the past. And we talked about it. That comes from a breach on Yahoo, a breach on Google, a breach on LinkedIn, many breaches that happen out there. Most people use the same password and they tell you, oh, I got into your computer and I'm recording you because here's your password. And at that point, you say, oh, they have my password and they tell me this, and I know I'm going there to porn sites, and you get worried about it. But if you don't, then you realize, okay, this is a scam.
I got one here from Hassan,
Yeah.
and he represents the interest of his brother-in-law, who is a minister in the Syrian government. And he's telling me all about this crisis in Syria.
And he wants to.
I have to invest 100 MUSD. I don't know what I
I
get.
don't know what's MUSD. What's MUSD?
I'm not sure.
You're
100 million US dollars.
oh,
Just 100. Oh, maybe it is maybe 100. Yeah, but it says 100 space MUSD. I don't know, maybe.
So he copy pasted from the wrong place.
and that's, you see, and that
Meaningful. He wants meaningful US dollars.
But you see, this is exactly my point about knowing when something is a scam and when it is not a scam. The scammers have bad English. You see sentences that are out of place in there, and you know that they're doing it because they are actually, like you said, they're copying and pasting and creating their own email from some source because they know that source is already, somebody is already detecting this pattern. So we're going to change it. And they don't know English good enough that they put it in the wrong place. Yep. And so you need to know these things. That's part of the.
All I know is I'm going to get compensated handsomely if I do well on this.
Yeah.
This one's actually got pretty good English.
there's this British comedian,
Yeah.
and he made it. He made his rise to stardom by actually answering these emails and
Yeah.
following up on them and creating like the story and then telling it on stage. He went on TED Talks, and that's where he got like really noticed. I think there's some TV show now hosting him as a regular skit. I'll try to find the link in a moment. So if you wanna really learn about what the Nigerian prince can offer you, he has a great walkthrough of the entire scenario. It's great, yeah. But I think the most interesting thing. So what you're talking about is about social hacking, and that's different. And the reason I'm mentioning it because when it comes to antiviruses, so you say you've become religious about it because you've been bitten in the past. And I can say I've been bitten in the past and I've become religious about not having an antivirus. But I wouldn't recommend it to anyone else. The reason is if you do not have the knowledge of understanding what an attack looks like, if you don't have the knowledge of, I mean, we all here when we're working on our machine, we feel if something is wrong for a moment,
Yeah.
right? If something's a bit sluggish, we know it immediately. The antivirus, an antivirus does not prevent infection. It detects the first infection.
Right.
Right. So when you're technologically savvy and you know what you're doing, right? Then something that scans in real time the system sometimes is a nuisance more than helpful. But if you are the person who needs to call your computer guy, the person in your family or friends that knows about it, right? Before you click on a link, or after you clicked on the link and suddenly something shows up, then yes, install an antivirus. And I agree with you, Amnon. It doesn't matter. Install the free ones. Make sure
It's
you
called the
install the
what?
free ones that don't install the free ones, the free antivirus.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Don't go. Even in the free antiviruses, don't install anything. Go with those that don't bug you, that don't ask you to buy the pay version every 5 minutes.
Well,
right? So that's why I would say, yeah, stick with Defender on Windows, right? Because it is as effective as most other antiviruses for 99% of the threats.
Yeah.
Right. So
although I can tell you that Defender is becoming a nuisance. Defender on Windows 7.
Windows 7 maybe
has an update every day, and it comes up and says, it's Windows updates. It says updates are available every day, sometimes multiple times. It's good because that means they keep up with what's going on. But
right,
I mean, if you knew,
but that's because you disabled the automatic updates,
right? And
yeah,
now,
but that's because you're a savvy user.
Well,
right. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's why I don't use any antivirus, right?
Yeah.
Because I trust myself not to do the mistakes. And I have been beaten. It's not that I've never made mistakes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I'm propped up to recover from them. Most people aren't.
Hold on. Can I ask you a question, Gal? Did you turn off the built-in Windows Defender?
On this Windows 10 machine, no. On another, yes. It depends. I mean, if it bothers me, I just switch it off.
Okay, yeah, because I think most people, I really do. I am of the mindset that Defender program is enough for 99% of it.
I mean, that's what's running on this.
You have to
right
try.
Here. It doesn't bother me on Windows 10.
With Defender, you have to try really hard to get something. I mean, when I'll download it. Sean and I will be working on little programs from time to time, and it'll be called myprogram.exe or whatever.
Yeah, they don't.
We'll send stuff back and forth, and it'll block that. I mean, you got to try pretty damn hard to get infiltrated with with Defender. I mean, you got to make an active
Yeah,
active
no,
approach to get
absolutely,
hit.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Uh,
And what I mean, the way I work is I do not. It's not that I don't use an antivirus, but I use. I mean, if I'm untrusting of something, of the source that I'm getting something, then I use something like Aristotle. Right? I scan the file. I make sure that it's benign before I test it.
mhm.
But then again, it's always a matter of, hey, I've been around, I've been bitten a few times, I've been doing it for years, and I trust myself that I can handle these mistakes, right? I know how to boot up a VM if I'm really, really wary, and I'll run inside a VM to test it. So an antivirus might help, but usually I find it a nuisance. So it all depends on what you're willing to risk. There's this analogy that I always like to use. There's freedom and security. They're on the same spectrum, and they're on different ends. Maximum freedom is a complete disconnect from all systems, and no strings attached in any way. Right? Complete anarchy.
Mhm.
And on the other side, maximum security is a disconnected box 2 feet by 2 feet, right, with bars on them that you can maybe only crap in the toilet, and that's it. That's maximum security, right? We all want to live somewhere in the middle. We
Mhm.
want security and we want freedom. And an antivirus is security. An antivirus is a step towards the small cell, right? And it all depends on how safe are you without it. And you can get that by knowledge, you can get that by experience.
Right, that's the thing that
Yeah.
you need to become knowledgeable at least about these things, and it's not you don't have to be a scientist to
Oh
figure
no,
that out.
no. It's
No.
about, yeah, it's about trusting your instincts
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and doing it right. And being willing, right, to get hit. Because you need to understand that you are a target.
Backups.
Backups.
Speaking of backups, I got to tell you, I saw the charge on my debit card this week and it reminded me. I've been paying now for Carbonite for probably 5 years and I've never had to use it. But boy, is it the best $65 a year or whatever that you can spend. I mean, there's just no reason not to buy that. I don't
Mhm.
care what you have on your computer. It's so inexpensive. And it backs up all 3 of the drives in my computer.
Yeah, there are
Not a
ways.
sponsor, by the way.
You what?
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor.
No, Gal, I'll talk about that spectrum though, that freedom versus security spectrum. I always struggle with that when it comes to 2-factor authentication. Because I think that is something that falls on that spectrum almost perfectly. Do you want to be able to just log into a service without having to deal with a authenticator on your phone? You know, that's on the freedom side, and on the security side is, now it's a password and a random 6 or 4 digit generated code. I always struggle with 2-factor.
Struggle is you don't want it.
It depends. Struggle with is it worth putting 2-factor on? Now I use 2-factor on all of all of the infection podcast stuff I share with Brian. We use 2-factor on all of that. I use it on Steam, which is the game service.
Well, Steam forces you to use 2-factor. You need to choose which 2-factor.
Yeah, and I use their
you
app.
are using.
I use it on battle.net, which is Blizzard's service.
So your problem is that there are certain services that have it, and
I don't use it on
here.
Gmail. Should I be using it on my Gmail account? I log into my Gmail from all over the place at random times in a rush to get access to something.
And
So let me burst your bubble.
Let's hear it.
2-factor authentication, as it is implemented in most services right now, is completely flawed. Because the easiest way to hack it is just by taking control over your phone number. And that is easier because that is social engineering. All the hacker needs to do is call your cell provider and ask to switch the SIM and sound like they are confident enough of who they are, right? Even if they don't have your details.
I would
So
I would say most people should be using something like Authy or Google's Authenticator apps, which are tied to the device, because those don't
right.
send via SMS.
But what happens when you switch on two-factor authentication on Google? What is the one request Google is not letting you go out with? Is give me a phone number so we can help you recover it in case you lose your two-factor
That is true.
authentication.
Yeah.
And that makes it that makes everyone very vulnerable. The most interesting thing I find about I like two-factor authentication as a solution right now because it's the only solution that makes more sense than just remembering a password, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's far from perfect. It's a nuisance. It requires an additional level of knowledge, right? A savviness that is it does not
That's the
exist straight out of anyone who uses a computer. They need to understand what they're doing at least once. They need to learn. There's a learning curve, but it is probably more vulnerable than not using it in certain services. For example, a bank. A bank usually doesn't offer two-factor authentication with an Authy or a Google Authenticator.
I will agree.
Right?
That is my bank is
And
only SMS.
that is
Yeah.
terrible. That is terrible. They're relying either on your email or on your phone number. Both can be easily hacked if they are not protected properly, right? So right now, the best solution I can think of for U.S. people at this point is never use your cell number when you are interacting externally with friends, and that sounds ridiculous, right? So this cell number, nobody except my cell provider knows it because I use a Google Voice number. And the Google Voice number, there's no one you can call and try to port it away from you, right? There's no social engineering trick that people can get to it. The only way that they can get to it is by hacking my Google account. And that is protected with two-factor authentication and the number that is the Google Voice number, right? So there's it's a closed system for me that I control and not anything else.
Yeah, but you have to be really savvy to do that.
And that's the thing, right? It's available to everyone. It's free. I didn't need to pay for this setup or anything, but you need to understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
Let me pose something to you, Gal. There's this saying, and Mike has said it to me for years. Don't let good become the evil. So with two-factor authentication, with it sending an image via sending a text message, an SMS to your phone number, are you letting the good become the evil with that in thinking, well, it's, yes, of course, somebody could call your cell provider, and Christ, I can't even talk to AT&T and I have the account. I mean, all the crap I have to go through to get authenticated with them just to talk to them anyway. Are you saying it's not worth having two-factor if you're going to use that?
I'm saying if you're having two-factor with a phone backup,
yeah,
right, you have the same holes as just using your password.
Okay, but so are you saying people shouldn't even bother with two-factor if they're going to do it that way? Because I think that's
it'll warrant off. It'll throw off
let me answer.
The simple hackers. It'll throw them off, right? But if somebody needs to get to your account, and the economy of hacking around that, right? Of calling a company, cloning the SIM, and doing that, the economy is huge. Okay, it is completely invisible to most of us, but it's out there and it's huge. So we need to know that we are still vulnerable. Okay, it's let's put it this way. It's the same way you're asking me. Does it matter if I use a 15-character password, but I'll do it 1 to 10 and A to E, right? Something like really generic, or should I really invest in the password? Both can be hacked. Use the better choice. If the only thing you have is two-factor authentication with a phone backup, yeah, use two-factor authentication with a phone backup, but know that you're still vulnerable.
That's the point. Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, but I think you can agree that it's vulnerable and not. I mean, everything. Okay,
everything is vulnerable.
I mean, if you could say Thumb ID is vulnerable because if somebody wants my Thumb ID, they can come and they can lock me up and chop my thumb off and use it to get into my phone. I mean, that's just as vulnerable as anything else.
Right, but they need physical access to you, right? It's all a question of how much access does whoever wants to hurt you needs to have, right? That's the same idea of the spectrum, right? Do I need to get to the cell and point a gun at you in order to hurt you because nothing else will, right? Or do I need to just pull you by a string that you've already picked up the end of? So it's all a matter of knowing what you're connected to and how vulnerable you are.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of two-factor for things like banks and anything that you've got, money invested in. I've probably got a couple $1,000 invested in my Steam library, probably like your son does, Gal. I mean, those things, you want to put some type of two-factor on, but for, your form account on DSL reports, do you need two-factor authentication? I mean, I don't know. I don't think so. But
Right.
The only reason you'll need two-factor authentication on something lesser than that, right, is when that particular point of data can link you to another point of data that is a security risk for you.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
I mean, let's talk a second about that Bitcoin stuff. Where, I mean, you have wallet numbers and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Nobody is going to call you and let you know or send you an SMS to remind you what it is, do they?
Is Mike,
So-
if Mike is here, there's two different kinds of wallets, and I think Mike can
Right.
probably talk about this. There are wallets that are on apps like Coinbase, Mike, and then there are apps, and then there are private wallets where, and I think your Mike, what's your co-host's name?
Steve.
Steve talked about how he's got his wallet information in safe security lock boxes in banks. So, Mike, talk about that real quickly if you could.
Well, I'm going to show my ignorance on it. I'll get you close. There are commercial wallets like Coinbase.com. They're an exchange where they will hold your cryptocurrency for you. But if you don't trust these exchanges, if you don't trust these wallets per se, then what you can do is pull it out of the system. And that is, you can take all of your cryptocurrency off of the internet and put it onto a digital device. One of the most popular ones is called a tracer. I think it's called tracer, T-R-A. I forget how to spell it. It's a weird spelling, but it's an expensive USB key. I don't know why it costs so much, but you pull the cryptocurrency out of the exchange, out of the wallet, put it into your own wallet in your hand, make multiple copies of it, and put it in multiple places. If you lose it, you're out.
Okay, you see, that was what I was driving at now. Is like Gal says, if you have a phone backup with two-step
Two-factor.
Two-factor two-factor authentication.
That's the bad thing. Why do you have to have a phone backup? Why can't you choose a different option?
There are. I mean,
I know there are.
I've got,
and forget about it, because like Mike said, you write down your details and put them in safe places, not just in one place. And then if you lose it, you just go there and you get it.
for example, I've got my Battle.net, which is a game platform. I've used 2Factor on them. I've got my 2Factor recovery key here. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
It's a series of letters and numbers. It's my recovery key. I don't.
What are they?
It's a 111. You got a pen? 111.
No, I can see it. I got it.
Oh yeah. We got an overhead shot that you can cut to. But I mean, and I've actually done this because when you get the one thing about 2Factor authentication that's a real pain in the ass is when you get a new phone, you've got to copy all of your 2Factor stuff over. Some apps, like if you on iOS, you can go iCloud to iCloud backup. It'll just bring all your stuff over. It will not bring your 2Factor apps over. That's for security reasons. And that's always a bit of a pain. But I don't believe they've got my phone number. This is how, if I lost my phone and needed to get into my account, I would find a new device and I'd put my 2Factor key in and disable 2Factor authentication.
So Gal, back to what you were saying. Why would someone choose to have a phone backup, cell phone backup, if you lost the key or whatever? Only because people don't take it the wrong way. Only if you're too lazy to write it somewhere and keep it there for when is that phone going to be used?
So depending on the service, right? The phone is going to be used to authenticate your identity and probably reset the 2Factor authentication.
Okay, but if you go and you sign in every day, does the phone come into play? And I'm
the
going
phone number,
and
depending on the service. There are services where they allow you to trust the device for the 2Factor authentication stuff. So you don't need to relog in and relog in and relog in. There are others who every time you log in, they will go through the 2Factor authentication process. Now, if you have an auto-generated number on your phone, then there's no text exchange. But sometimes you have the option of saying, okay, I don't have access to my phone right now, but I need to, I'm on a trip.
Yeah.
The phone broke.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I need access to my Gmail account or my bank account or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay. So where can we send it to? Usually it has an email option. Or if it doesn't have an email option at all, then it'll probably have a phone option.
Okay. But
now,
in email,
if you sign up,
email option, you're talking about a different email account. Because that's a catch-22.
Yeah, not the one that you want to access. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So there should always be, when it comes to security today and passwords, first of all, everybody needs to understand passwords are the worst security measure that we have right now. After a door key, because a door key isn't really, anyone can probably open a door key. So passwords are as good as the keys on your keychain, right? They can be hacked different ways, right? Even the long 32 character long password, eventually they can be hacked. Either somebody listens on you, or somebody figures out how, what you put there because it makes some sense, or the most common today are the breaches, and that's why we see this influx of emails coming out, right? I mean, I got an email like that. Mati, my wife, got an email like that. And I know where that comes from, so I'm not hysterical when I see these, right? My father got an email like that. So it's definitely something that we're going to see an influx, and everybody's going to talk about it without really understanding what's going on, right?
Yeah.
So passwords are flawed. 2Factor authentication is a great solution to protect passwords, but they are flawed. Even with the 2Factor, they're flawed. Right?
It's sort of like you have double lock on your door. You have the top one, and then you also have the one on the bottom. And if you want to get in, you have to use two keys. to get into your house. Or you don't know what I'm talking about.
Yes, but it's not exactly that. It's more like if you have a key
Yeah.
to unlock it, and then you need to punch in a code,
Okay.
right? Because
Same
it's
thing,
something
yeah,
that you
yeah.
have and
Right.
something that you know.
Yeah.
That's why it's two-factor authentication.
Okay.
It's not two passwords,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I do. Ben in the chat is reminding that it is a lot of people refer. It is multi-factor authentication. It's not necessarily just two, and you can have a mix of two-factor or multi-factor. You can have services that will, as Gal said, send a text message, send an email. There's apps like Authy and Google Authenticator, and then a whole bunch of services now are developing their own proprietary authenticators built into their own apps. So like when I log into my Steam account, I get a pop-up notification saying, essentially, is this you? And I can either click continue or I can enter a code manually.
Yeah, that's how Google two-factor authentication now works. It prompts on the phone.
Yeah,
right?
but I thought
or
that
on the watch.
I thought what Ben is talking about is that you can actually have 3-factor and 4-factor.
Some services offer that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can probably, but that doesn't make it any more secure. That's the thing, right?
Yeah, it just makes it more of a pain.
But here's the thing. I do want to be clear with this, Gal. I'm not accusing you of doing anything here, Gal. But it's an there is. I don't know. I don't think there is a perfect solution to this. There's always going to be a service. There's always going to be a. I'm not going to say a backdoor, but there's always going to be a weak point in the system. And what you've described, it's U.S. cell providers calling them and saying, "Hey, I've got a new SIM card. Here's my IMEI number. Please activate this SIM card." There's always going to be a.
Don't go there. No, it's easier than that. Just start working in a T-Mobile shop, right? And start cloning SIMs because you have full access to the system.
But again, there's always going to be a weak point in the system.
Right. It's like calling the secretary and saying, "I'm the IT and I need to come in. Can you give me the password?"
Yeah. I mean, so there's always going to be the weak point. So I think we need to just figure out what is the weak point, and is the weak point worse than not having the system at all? And in my opinion, if your backup is SMS, I still think it's better than not having any type of second factor when your password is your last name and
whatever
your birthday and then your first and then your first animal's name or those stupid security questions. Oh, what's your favorite food? What school did you go to?
Yeah.
What's your mother's maiden name? I mean, that stuff is useless.
I know.
Literally useless.
No, it's very useful for the hackers.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's useless. I mean, you could find all that information about me by going to my Facebook page.
Yeah, I remember one service and one service only that I've seen some years ago that actually lets you come up with a question and lets you have the answer for it. Not the canned one that really today anybody can find on the internet. What's your mother's name and what dog you had? Because we are so... we like to let people know about all these things.
But the trick to that, Amnon, it's sort of risky, is that when it asks you these questions, you don't give them the correct answer.
That's true too. Yeah.
Where was your mother born? Brooklyn. Yeah. My mother never went to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
But how do you remember that? How do you remember?
You have to remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. And if you got $100 bill in your pocket, you probably need to not lose it.
I agree.
Oh my God, my $100 bill's gone.
But that's exactly what I'm talking about. You can use all of these systems, know how vulnerable you are. Don't just live in an illusion that you're safer just because you've used that. You're probably safer, but you're not safe.
Right.
There's no absolute safe.
There is no absolute safe.
But it goes back to that saying.
There is. Yes, there is. There is a cord on the back of your computer that if you will unplug it, your computer is totally safe from the internet. It's called Ethernet plug.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I call the maximum freedom. Right? You're completely free from everything.
You can play pinball on Windows XP for the rest of your life. It'll be fantastic. But you've got to make the trade-off. You're not letting the
the same as antivirus.
Yeah. Bingo.
You should have it. If you're not savvy enough, you should have it. Even if you're savvy, you should have it. It can't hurt. It may be a little nuisance, but it can't hurt.
Well, let me also suggest that this business about antivirus, even Mac people think they're not vulnerable, but of course, part of it is when they get hit, they don't admit it. But I had an issue earlier this week. Whenever I was, what are you laughing about, Nick?
I mean, the Apple stuff is it's just incredible.
But he's correct.
I know he's correct, but it's so matter of fact and nonchalant. It's funny.
Sorry. All right, Mike,
go ahead, Mike.
It's Unix with a cartoon interface. It works really well. Unix is a great operating system.
Yeah, but it's a crippled Unix. Come on, man.
Well, so what? So people that use Macs are crippled.
Anyway, so
all right. Now I don't remember what I was telling you about.
All complaints sent to Mike.
Oh, I know. So when I'm looking for a solution to a problem, because also when I was rebuilding one of these other computers, I have another computer, an older one that I keep up to date periodically. It had not been updated for several months. Went into Windows 10 and it did about 4 hours worth of updates. One of the updates killed the video card.
Mm-hmm.
I then started looking around to find a Windows 10 specific driver for that video card. There isn't one. It happened to have worked before, but some Windows 10 update has now made that video card somewhat incompatible. I finally got it working, somewhat incompatible with Windows 10. But in going to this is really, really tricky. You need to be careful because in looking for a driver, if you go in and search, put the card number in there, Windows 10 driver, ATI, you will come up with the first 10 websites that you go to that whenever it says, oh, I found the driver, when you look at the link, it goes to a .php file.
Yeah.
Ain't happening. I would never, and it's my-driver-online-peggy.ru, and it goes
Russian.
to a .php file. Ain't happening. So I'm just telling you that some of these domain names that you would click on in a Google search could very well be sites with viruses on them.
And absolutely. And this is the point that we're making, that you need to be savvy about these things. When
you can be savvy all you want to and step in it. It's just like stepping in dog poo. You can pay attention, but when you're looking the other way, boom.
True. And that may be when an antivirus will stop it. Maybe. Again, all these are maybes. But yeah, if you know, I mean, the other day I got a email with an attachment that was a .vbs. I haven't seen those in ages.
That's Visual
That's
Basic.
Visual Basic.
Yeah.
That is the original kind of.
They still use that though. I still play around with.
I've never seen
Visual
it, and
Studio.
I don't know why it wasn't stopped. And I looked at it and I said, .vbs? No, like Mike said, it ain't happening, and I just deleted it.
Here, check out my cool Visual Basic project.
Yeah.
I'd like to show you.
So the point here is, and again, if I'll make it, is remember, use an antivirus, use a two-factor, multi-factor authentication if you feel better. But remember, no matter what you do, and no matter what you install on your computer, you can still be vulnerable.
Turn off your computer and read a book.
Use pencil and paper, right?
I do it all the time.
Write letters.
How are you going
to do your podcast without your computer, Mike?
I'll give it up. I'm sure the world will not stop turning on its axis if I stop doing that podcast.
Wait, that is a good question, Mike. The answer to it is no, we're still going to keep using computers.
We'll do it on reel-to-reel tape, and I'll mail it to the station and let them take the risk.
We're still going to do a show, and we're still going to do all that, knowing that we could be hacked, but you be careful, you back it up, you do whatever you can in order to I mean, if we were in a war, you took your car and you put 1-inch steel all around it to drive it around. But then what happens when you get a flat tire? What happens when somebody's coming right behind you and climb on it? And you can never be absolutely 100% safe.
Well, that's the thing.
You can be safer, but not safe.
I mean, do you get in your car and go to the grocery store? And
Yeah,
are you
again.
afraid that you're going to get killed in a car accident? I mean,
I am.
statistically,
You
you've
think
actually got
you think about it,
you've
but
actually got pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
the chances of getting hurt or killed in an auto accident is
absolutely.
pretty high in
Yeah.
comparison to winning the lottery or
Yeah.
dying in a plane crash.
Or going outside and a meteorite hits
Yeah,
you
I'm-
over the head. Yeah.
I mean, all that's, but you don't think about that. You just
No.
get in your car and you go to the grocery store. I mean,
Right.
it is what it
That's
is.
the thing is because if you don't go to the grocery store, then you're going to die anyway.
But that's when you let the perfect become the, what is it, Mike? What is it? When you let the perfect become the enemy of the good or something like that. I mean,
Yeah, something like that. But I'm not the one who preaches that to you.
okay, well,
That's Johnny.
yeah, I got you. You know, you would never say, "Oh, I don't drive because there's a chance I can get a car accident." Well,
Absolutely.
yeah, okay. Well, then
Absolutely.
don't
No.
breathe because there's a chance you could breathe in carbon monoxide and die. I mean,
Mhm.
it's doesn't make any sense.
So that's the thing. I mean, here it's breathing and people put a mask on their face. That minimizes the thing. It doesn't stop everything.
I've had an interesting thought just a moment ago that
Uh-oh.
if once you hear it, you'll probably agree. One of the benefits in society that we have had forever is that the criminals are typically stupid compared with the legal system, law enforcement, the authorities.
Mhm.
We have a system now where the hackers are smarter than the enforcement.
In many cases, yeah. They're always a step ahead.
Oh, you mean the senators and whatnot that are legislating things
Oh,
with
anybody.
cybersecurity?
I
You
got news
don't know what
for
they're
you.
doing?
Even some of but even some of the Nortons and the companies that are trying to stay ahead of the game.
Yeah.
They're always, I mean, antivirus writers are always playing catch up. You don't know what
Right.
the virus is until you see it.
It's the wild west, the wild west of the internet.
And what
So-
aggravates me to no end, and this is me preaching, is that some of these virus writers, if they would do positive things, they would have killer products. They are extremely good programmers. They understand Windows better than Microsoft does, and yet they're using it for this crap.
All right. Hey, Nick, did you hear that PlayStation user in Chicago last week began paying a 9% tax on streaming content as the gaming company starts complying with the city levy? If you're in Chicago,
Is this through PlayStation View, their TV service? Or their
the
game
Sony-owned
service?
company joined other streaming devices, including Spotify, Netflix, and Hulu,
Wow.
in complying with the charge, which took effect 3 years ago. The city's amusement tax, which used to apply mostly to concert and sporting events tickets, was extended to include streaming services in 2015.
Hmm.
That include charges paid for playing games, according to Chicago's finance department. Some tech companies have fought the additional 9% charge. Apple filed a lawsuit against the city in August, alleging the tax on its music streaming service was illegal and discriminatory. So, they're trying to come up with money.
I mean, yeah, instead of worrying about, half the city killing themselves every every weekend, we're charging 9% tax.
Gal, don't you
Sorry.
dare move to Chicago.
No, sounds like people are probably streaming. Successful streamers are going to start leaving Chicago.
Yeah.
so.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of, this is in the gaming news. E3 is the big gaming event that is hosted every year out in I think it's either LA or Vegas. And that's kind of the big video game convention of the year, one of the. And we've seen over the past couple of years, big companies starting to leave that conference and doing their own one-off events. Nintendo a couple of years ago left, and they do their own things. And now Sony is also leaving E3 and are going to do what like Apple does, where they kind of just host their own keynote on their own accord. And yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing. I don't know how relevant it is, but it's interesting to see these big like trade shows that have been popular for years. Now companies are so large they can say, "Oh, come watch our show next Saturday at 8 p.m." and there'll be hundreds of thousands of people watching online.
Online.
So and it doesn't really matter where they do it. So, and they don't have to pay these ridiculous fees.
Somebody was asking if anybody got the latest updates, Windows updates.
Yeah.
So it did say Microsoft on last Wednesday, resumed the rollout of Windows 10 version 1809. The re-release of the so-called October 2018 updates comes more than 5 weeks after the company pulled the original installation files from its download service and stopped its scheduled delivery through Windows Update. So they resumed it, and I saw somebody answering that, yeah, they saw it from the 16th. Don't rush to it. Don't rush into it. I mean,
I know Spence isn't here, but I've got a deal. I just
Okay.
found this on Slick Deals. So if you remember a couple weeks ago, I was talking about a couple months ago now, my Razer mouse that I use at home with the buttons
Yeah.
on the side
well,
was having terrible optical
Right.
sensor issues, and I ended up ordering the Logitech G600,
600, yeah.
which has got 12 programmable keys on the side. It's a $50. I don't see how much I paid for it. I paid
You paid 80 some, I think.
$56 for it with
Oh.
tax. It's on sale on Newegg right now for the next 16 hours for $24. So if you
There you
are
go, God.
if you're in need of a mouse that's got 20 it's got 12 buttons on the side of it that are programmable, that is by far you won't find that any cheaper.
That's
This mouse is
amazing.
normally a $60 or $70 mouse.
Hmm.
On Newegg. No, you don't have any no programmable buttons
No,
on that one.
See, I mean, this one has 2 here. I have
Yeah.
no idea what they're for.
That's up forward and back on a web page, and forward and back in
Oh, really?
programs. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Never got into that. All right. Let's see what else is. Okay. Now, if you're going to, you're going to start buying presents and stuff.
Yeah.
Parents always like to keep up with their kids. The location tracking MiSafe, MiSafe smartwatch may not be as safe as the name proclaims. According to security research from Penn State partners, the watches are easy to hack as they do not encrypt the data they use or secure each child's account. The researchers found that they could track children's movement, surreptitiously listen to their activities, and make spoof calls to the watch that appeared to be from parents. That is bad stuff.
Good. That's great.
I
I mean, talk about Big Brother
mean,
Internet 2.0. I mean,
Yep.
really. Wow.
So if you're thinking about it, that's not a way to keep up with your kid. Keep up with your kid the normal way. We're getting.
What is the normal way? I'm not. Don't
Well,
let
the
them go
normal
outside.
way is to know where they are by being with them, or
Yeah. Good luck with that.
well, I mean, the other day, Uzi was here, my brother, and his daughter was coming down here to our house from Durham, from UNC, and he's got that tracking
first
on a
problem.
phone. And you could actually see it. And he said, "Oh, she got off at the wrong place." And, that's on the phone.
Yeah, it's probably iPhone.
But
It's
this
built
is,
in.
but this is for kids. That's
Just get them an iPhone.
yeah.
That's what their parents are doing.
All right. The new. Are you upgrading your computer at any time soon?
I mean, if
Intel officially announced the 9th generation Core processor. It used the opportunity to also unveil a refreshed lineup of 9th gen branded Core 10 series, Core X. Unlike the 9th generation Core I products, however, which leverage an updated Coffee Lake microarchitecture, the new processor in Intel Core X or 10 series remains based on Skylake architecture, but employs notably tweaks in manufacturing and packaging of the chips, especially with the solder thermal interface material. And they have what did I see it? 18. It features 18 Skylake X cores, 36 threads. I
Mm.
thought, I really thought that they dropped the multi-thread from their thing because there was a lot of problems with the those problems. What were they? Those two, the bad things with the chips. I forgot. What were those two
I have no idea what you're talking about.
vulnerabilities?
Oh, you're talking about the memory vulnerability with multi-threading.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I
that was
thought-
only on older. That was on older chips though.
Okay. It has Turbo Boost 2.0 and Turbo Boost Max 3.0 frequency of 4.4 and 4.5 gigahertz, which are 200 megahertz and 100 megahertz higher than Intel previous Gen Core i9 7980.
Do not buy the 9980XE i9. It's only like $2,500 for the processor.
geez.
Nobody here is buying it, but I watched watched a couple of videos on it. It's their newest chip, and it's a more expensive, slower, underperforming chip. But they've got it listed
But it's
as
up there.
they've got it listed as an upgrade from the 7980XE, and it's not. It's a worse chip. Yeah, these processors are like $2,000 basically.
Yeah, it's
a lot of these new
ridiculous.
i9s,
Yeah.
and they're not meant for. You'd think you'd buy these for gaming, right, or something
Yeah.
like that, but they're not. They're not even meant for that. They're meant for very high performance things. Most of them perform terribly in video game benchmarks because it's not optimized for it. You're better off with a $400 i7
Or a
Yeah.
Mac.
Oh yeah, or a Mac. Yeah,
Or an iPad.
lots of good games on mobile.
Dan, was
All
that,
right.
did you guys, I had to step away for a moment. Did
Yeah.
you guys talk about the wildfires in California?
No.
Dan, I don't know. I don't know if Dan's still here. It says it's shocking that in this day and age of an incident like this could happen in the most technologically advanced and richest state. Well, for one thing, they're not exactly the richest. They're bankrupt because they don't report their social
Mhm.
obligation. But he says that I'm curious if the group has an idea of what the best way would be to prevent or minimize deaths from wildfires in California. Apparently, if they had some system that would text, email, call you, but it was opt-in, some have suggested old school sirens. Well, let's go back to the nature of the problem. Do you know what the purpose of controlled burning is?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Right.
exactly
To
it.
prevent uncontrolled
Yeah.
burning. And so when they get off their high horse and realize that there are proven ways of minimizing this problem and do controlled burning to case in point, we were just talking about this in my neighborhood here where the trees in the neighborhood are very old. I mean, there's 60-foot pine trees. There's just stuff everywhere. If and there are a lot of natural areas. There's setback buffers and things of that nature. So there's a lot of natural area allocated. And if my neighbor's catches on fire in a dry area, it's going to spread like a wildfire and go all to my house, next door neighbor's house. It would consume a lot of the whole block until it got to an area where somebody had cleaned up that mess like we have.
Yeah, I mean, we all like trees and everything, but again, they make you build certain homes according to certain codes in areas that have earthquakes. Well, if you live over there in areas where they have in any area, I would say, make sure that you don't have trees right by the house, and that if there are any natural area, leave it natural, but have somebody treated, rake leaves that just fall there. Yeah, I mean, a lot of things that you can do, but that's hindsight. I mean, it's still
No, it's not
very
hindsight.
sad.
It's not hindsight. This is a lifelong problem. Back in the old days,
They used to.
it just was not as big of an issue because we didn't have these wackos saying that you couldn't cut down a dead tree or whatever they're
Right.
doing.
Yeah, I mean,
The bottom line is that we moved into a new house about over 2 years ago into an area that has an HOA, which our prior home for 28 years did not have an HOA. And there were a lot of mature trees here. We decided we wanted to cut them down. We looked at the covenants in the HOA, and then we submitted what we wanted to do. We got permission. They granted us permission. So what we have done is since then we've taken a hard look at this tree situation. And my opinion, I love trees. I mean, there you go out into a forest, particularly the redwoods and all, beautiful thing, no question about it. But it's kind of like it's kind of like preserving. In our area, we have bobcats in our residential. It's illegal to kill one of them because they're beautiful, endangered, or foxes and bobcats and things. Let a child get hit by one and find out how smart that is. But what I'm saying is that the situation in highly populated areas, trees can become major liabilities for a number of reasons that I don't think that we as a society have thought it through as well as we need to.
I mean, there's a lot of things, and that's one of them. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Anything else? Anything else anybody wants to bring up? We're past our bedtime.
We started late.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Mike. Thanks, Gal. Nick, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
That was fun. And good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie, and Donna. Thanks, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you learned something and enjoy our time together. Remember to back up your hard drive and update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. And while you're at it, like us on Facebook and follow us on Facebook and follow the channel on YouTube. Subscribe to it. You're not doing a live show tonight?
Best of.
No. Okay. So tonight you can listen to Best of Against the Norm by Nick Craig on Wilmington's Big Talker 106.7 FM, and you can listen to it on TuneIn. See you next week, everybody.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.